cool.
Okay, so I'm delighted to be joined by you today, Mr. Waqas. Your name is on the screen. You've chosen not to be anonymous and to have your own name on there. Tell me why.
Because I realized in life when you own something that's happened to you, nobody can ever use it against you because you're saying, well, it's something that I own. What can you do by nothing? So yeah, I always think that when stuff like this happens, when you have trauma, own it.
Mm, mm.
That's it really. I'm not bothered what anybody's going to say about it. People are going to say something. I don't think they will, but it's about beating the people that did stuff to you, and by saying, "Well, I'm here. Well, what are you going to do by it?" Like playing with the front foot kind of thing.
Do you mind sharing? This is for an audience who might not be familiar with working with Asian men,
Hmm.
and especially Asian men who've been through what you've been through. What were the consequences for your life at that
I
point?
mean, see, like I was thinking about this yesterday. A lot of it is that your innocence gets stolen away from you. So, when you're at, to what age I was at, between 4, 5, 6, and 7, at that age, really, you're not supposed to know about these things. You're supposed to know about your toys and your whatever your mum brings you and, sweets and stuff like that, or your friends at school. And it kind of makes your brain think about other things that you're not really ready for to understand. And I was thinking about it, and I was talking to somebody about this, and I was saying, like as a child, I actually at that point actually didn't understand how children were made, how babies were made, but I was still going through, horrendous type of abuse. But I didn't understand why they were doing what they were doing, what was the pleasure they were getting out. Do you see what I mean? I had no understanding of the anatomy of a human body.
Sure, sure, sure. And were there any cultural factors at play in terms of you getting help?
I think there's one culture thing is that shame element, because our society is a very machismo-led society in the sense that, what will somebody say or what will, people say, you're a man and you were abused by another man. Do you see what I mean? But obviously, I was a child, but still, you grow into a man, don't you? So you feel like, oh, but what are people going to say? And especially the older generation, sometimes they have this like hush mentality, like just don't say anything, just it's all right, it's happened, leave it alone because it's about that shame because what will the people say about our family? But it's really that's the cultural side of it. And I noticed the younger generation that are here are much more outspoken against it. But the older generation, they're saying like, well, oh, you're okay. Yeah, that's fine. Just don't leave it, just jump all
Get
your
over
kind of
it, get
thing.
on with
That's
it.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, if you don't mind me saying, what was the reaction of your loved ones when they did find out?
So like my mum still doesn't know because I just think it's my mum she's already got issues and there's no point. My brother he was like he was quite amazed but he was a bit taken aback so he didn't really know what to say. My father was very quick to blame my mother because he felt it was poor like he felt like my mum didn't look after me enough, but it wasn't actually that. It was the fact that I was vulnerable, and you can't look after a child 100% of the time. You're always going to be a little bit vulnerable here and there. So for my family, like some people know, some people don't know, but a lot of them they probably wouldn't. They don't know they don't know what to say, kind of thing. They feel like the younger generation probably feel bad for you,
Mm.
but there's not much they can do about it. Just, I mean, there's maybe a mixture of anger, but really, nobody's really. I'm not saying nobody's taking it seriously, but it's gone in one ear, come out the other kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. Um, I just want to ask you about something, masculinity, because for you, reclaiming your life has been very much about reclaiming power and masculinity. That's a big factor. You can't tell you're 6'6", you're a big, big, strong man, right?
Yeah, yeah. And that
Power,
was it.
what role has that played in you reclaiming your history?
Well, when I was 16, 17, I used to question a lot of that. And I used to question what am I? I used to question, your own sexuality and thing. But then once I grew into a man, after 19, I went to university. I had a really good experience at university, made new friends, and then I went to the prisons and stuff. And then I realized that actually and when I look through, because obviously, I study a lot of history, and the people that used to study were like proper macho men in the sense that from an Islamic history point of view, even English history, that I enjoyed the company of men that nobody would, if you pardon my French, fuck with, nobody would mess with, so I built myself around them, and I looked at their characteristics, and I realized that, well, if them people can do it and they can conquer the world by just belief and sheer determination, so can I. And then as life went on, I read more into my history. I kind of grew into my personality, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a lot of that you got a lot of big strong kings and stuff like that. So and they've done like, so you like the Saladins and your Alexander the Great and stuff. And, they all had positive and negative things happen to them, but they pushed through, and it was all that perseverance. In my head, it was always one day something's gonna happen. One day I'll be able to get over it, kind of thing.
And what was it that made you first reach out for help? And what was it that made you determine to go to an Asian service like ours and not other services out
Because the thing is, I didn't want self-pity. I didn't want somebody to feel sorry for me, because that wasn't why I was there. I had some questions I wanted to ask, and I didn't know how to ask them myself. When it comes to like English-led services or like Caucasian-led services, they have a certain way of doing things because their culture is slightly different than ours. To understand the dynamics of a culture, you've kind of got to be involved in that culture, kind of thing.
there? Yeah. Did
Other
that
than
help?
that,
Did
it
that
did, yeah,
help?
because like you understand things like shurum and all that kind of stuff, and certain words that we use, and you understand how it's viewed in the Asian community because you're part of the Asian community. You see what I mean? So you always need somebody that you can relate with.
Sure, sure, sure. And I just want to talk about reclaiming life because you've reclaimed your life and then some. It'd be fair to say you've done some remarkable things. Tell us about where you are right now, physically, like location wise. I think
Yeah.
that's something amazing in itself. But also in terms of your presence in the world. Tell me about you, what you've managed to do in
Well,
terms of rebuilding your life.
when I was from 16 onwards, I was like a young homeless adult. I was on my own in Bolton, and then I went from there to university. And now, like I said before, I was in a prison service for 4 years. I was a prison officer. I
You're a
worked
prison
quite well.
officer. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that you were not.
Yeah.
You
And
were.
I was in prison. I was a prison officer. Yeah. I got to stop saying that I was in prison. Yeah, I was a prison officer. And then what I did was I got married at the age of 25, 26 with my wife, and we were married for 2.5 years now. We bought our first house a few months ago, and we've got our own business in home care. And now, I've been chosen to stand as a member of parliament for the Liberal Democrats. And that's it really, because just persevered. At the end of the day, you just persevere. Sometimes things are tough, sometimes things are hard, but I just felt like, man, you just got to get on with it, aren't you? That you feel down sometimes, but I just said, you know what, it is what it is. What's the worst that's going to happen? And the most important thing for me was to have faith in God, faith in Allah, and everything's all right.
So faith has played a major role for you.
It is the single biggest thing that's made a difference in my life. Every single thing I do, and because we was talking about, the people that have done bad things to me, you feel angry as a normal human being. You feel angry, you want to do things. But I think I spoke to you before. I go, but what puts the fear of God in me is that, well, God's on my side. I feel like Allah's on my side. I don't want to lose him. I go, it doesn't matter what anybody's done. I do, and that's it really. The religion part of it has made a massive difference. I can't like underestimate that. Honestly, I can't. If I wasn't for the religion, I don't know where I'd be.
Mashallah, I mean, it's incredibly powerful. So, if you were to give advice to mainstream services out there, or even third sector services out there, in terms of supporting men from our communities, would that recognition of faith be up there?
Oh, 100%. Because the Asian community, especially that's from a Muslim point of view and from a British Pakistani point of view, you've got to have somebody that understands what Islam is and how it can be used as a really powerful tool for your mental health. And secondly, you've got to have somebody that understands the community and how the faith is interlinked within the community.
Yeah,
So it's different to treat somebody that's might be, say, a theist or an atheist or an agnostic than treating somebody that's a Muslim. Even every theist is different. So Muslim, Jewish, or Christian is different. So you need to know individually how important faith is for that community.
sure, sure, sure. Finally, what advice would you give to any young person, a young man from our community who's out there, who's thinking, why is this happening to me? And is
Mhm.
lost and confused and might see this interview, what might you say to him?
I say to him, stand your ground. At the end of the day, you're not in the wrong. Somebody's done something wrong to you. You weren't in the wrong. It wasn't your fault. Don't blame yourself and get the help that you need. And if it's and go to the law enforcement, because if it's been done in this country,
You would encourage them to go to law enforcement, yeah?
go to law enforcement, get the help you need, because you're not the problem, you're the victim.
Yeah,
And at the end of the day, you've got plenty of support that's out there. Don't let yourself get drowned in things like drugs and drinks, because that is not what's going to help you. Go and get help and see, like I said, put faith in God, and then get the services that need to help. But go, get as much help as you can. And the more you highlight this problem, the less likely somebody else will go through what you went through.
most definitely. Most definitely. I just have to say, you're an incredible inspiration.
Thank you.
And a real honor knowing you. And thank you ever so much for doing this. We
No
really
worries, man.
appreciate it.
No worries.
I'm just going to stop recording